Have you ever wondered how can a life of an Indian look like here in US? Or have you ever wondered what kind of food, what kind of people, what kind of travel can you experience if you're living in US? Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Shatakshi. I am an entrepreneur and ex-BCG management consultant with an ISB MBA with a Harvard Exchange. And on my channel, I share absolutely free learning and content around MBA, consulting, and personal finance, and at times about lifestyle as well. So feel free to hit on the subscribe and the notification button so that you are notified every time I'm talking about these topics. And of late, I've been doing that very frequently. So with that, let's directly jump into this video. It's a very personal video, and I've been seeing a lot of interesting questions on my channel around how is your life in US? How as a vegetarian you are managing all the food in US? So yes, let me once again divide this video into two parts. So why am I here in US? As a lot of you might be contemplating, and where exactly I'm in US. So that's the first part, and then the second part, which are components of my life, which is ranging around food to travel to work. How do I really manage my work? So first and foremost, my motivation and why am I here in US? So my partner, my life partner and my husband right now is in US for his work purposes, and I had to accompany him. So hence, yes, that's why I'm exactly in Boston, and within Boston, I'm in Cambridge area. For those of you who don't know, Boston is almost 4.5 hours drive up from New York City. So New York is pretty nearby, and I've already lost the number of count that I've been to New York. And as a Bostonian, I could safely say I like Boston more than New York. And with that, let's definitely get into all the other aspects of my life experiences here in Boston and Cambridge. So we had actually landed first in New Hampshire, which is not Boston, which is actually 4 hours north of Boston by drive, and it's a completely different place altogether. In fact, at times it is called the honeymoon destination as well, and very secluded place. If you would find Boston to be sparsely populated, you would find New Hampshire to be even sparsely populated. And this is not my first time here in US. Almost 3 years ago, I was on an exchange semester here in US. So this is my second time. I would not say that it's been very hard. So I'm very comfortable with the US life here, and what kind of food do I need to eat, what kind of friends do I need to make. So I'm fairly comfortable and confident around those arenas. With that, I'm going to be dividing the entire experiences into 4 sections. Let's first start with the work. How do I manage my work? Because I'm a co-CEO and an entrepreneur. My life, I'm working almost 12-14 hours every day out of my own will, because I'm very passionate for my own education venture, and I genuinely believe that we are doing some good work by disrupting the entire MBA and the MPP space across the world. But coming back to the topic, in our New Hampshire home, we had a very beautiful space in the hall. So I would typically wake up at 9 a.m. until almost early wee hours. I will be on calls with my team members who work from India, and they're really cool to actually accommodate the time difference. However, here in Boston, because it is a city, it is not really, I would say, not like New Hampshire, which is, so New Hampshire, if I were to become very desi, treat it like Manali, if you could safely treat Manali. And Boston, you could safely treat like Chandigarh. I was born and brought up in Chandigarh. So that is the safest bet that I could put when I compare Boston to Chandigarh. I'm not sure if I've done good justice to Boston by comparing it to Chandigarh. But coming back, there are really cool, cute cafes out here. And rather than working at home and taking my calls from home, because many a times the work life of a co-CEO could become very hectic, I prefer to go out in cafes, get ready and take all my calls, and then work on all the product innovations, team well-being, and the partnerships that we are forming from the cafe. And as I speak, I will put a lot of interesting videos also in the background, so you get to see the kind of life that I'm getting to live here in US. I would be extremely candid in this vlog, as everyone says. I do realize that I'm living a very privileged life right now. And I do say so because I come from a middle class Indian family, and I really hustled in my 20s to be at a situation where I am right now. And I do have that sense of humility in me, and I do realize that I would want to bring all of you as much as possible to this stage in life. And hence, in fact, I started my own YouTube channel to give back as much as possible. Which brings me towards the second section of this video, which is around food. So yes, I'm a vegetarian, and in fact, my partner is a non-vegetarian, which makes things a lot of tricky. But we have never ever found, especially me as a vegetarian, I have never found situations where I have had a hard time to cook food. So most of the times we prefer to cook food at home, and we really like, in fact, the time of taking out time in the kitchen, just stepping away from work and just being engrossed in cooking. And of course, the Indian staple diet is no longer my diet. I have left chapatis completely and for the good. Don't see any much benefit in eating a lot of carbohydrates. But of course, the vegetables that you would get in India, the bhindi, the lauki. I'm not a huge fan of lauki. My mother was after me throughout, why are you not eating lauki? So that's not what I typically eat because it gets fairly cold here in Boston. I would definitely eat a lot of eggs and other kind of food. So green veggies, leafy vegetables, salads, and a lot of with yogurt is typically the kind of food that I would eat. And many a times we do go out as well, in cafes, in restaurants, for dinner dates, and for just getting to enjoy life here. I think the pandemic was just harsh on all of us. I think we at times feel really blessed. My wedding actually took place with exactly 20-25 people. My father had invited 500 people to my wedding, to only unfortunately realize that my wedding date had actually overlapped with the second wave that was happening in the country, which was very unfortunate. But coming back to the entire point, we did not have a very lavish wedding, and I'm very proud about that. I always wanted a very private wedding, and we did not have a lot of chance to go and travel after our wedding. So kind of treating this like a honeymoon, and I'm very sure that I would want my entire life to be like a honeymoon. So we do take our time to go for restaurant dates and eat a hearty meal. And that's about the second section, which is around food. Which brings me towards the third section of this video around life, which is definitely around people and the community that I have surrounded myself in. So back in New Hampshire and now here in Boston, I'm surrounded by fantastic sense of community. In New Hampshire, we were friends with our neighbors, we were friends with the people who were living in our entire apartment on the top floor and the floor beneath us. So we would very frequently invite them for dinners. We would go on dinners with them, and especially in New Hampshire, you would be really surprised with the kind of community camaraderie would be there, even more than the US camaraderie. In fact, my experience here in US has been very different. I have found this entire country to be a little more socialist and a little less capitalist than US at a society level. And if you want to know more about such content, feel free to let me know, and I'm more than happy, and I'm passionate about such topics around responsible capitalism, income inequality, etc. Coming back to the topic, here in Boston, I have a dear community of like-minded people from Harvard. A few friends who are already studying here at Harvard, so we do go out and have chats around chai. Chai is definitely my favorite beverage. And I keep in connect with all the friends with whom I had studied back 3 years ago. They are already in Boston, so I keep on having frequent chats with them. I'm a huge believer of surrounding yourself with good community members, not just for transactional value, but for your mental health. Human beings have not learned, we have not evolved to be living in silos. The entire social media culture, the entire internet culture has just made us a lot alone, and has just left a lot of people to be more lonely. And hence I typically, my partner and I always take out a lot of effort to have a sense of community around us. In India, of course, we had our family members and friends, but now that our family members and friends are not here right now in US, we do proactively make an effort to have a good sense of community around us. So we have talked about work, we have talked about food, we have talked about friends. Let me of course talk about the fourth topic, which is around travel. So because of the work has been fairly hectic for both my partner and me. We have not traveled a lot, but almost I've already seen Boston twice, but we do keep on going for long walks. I'm a huge fan of walks in life, and I have always maintained that there are archaeological places here, there are historical places here nearby, so I keep on going on those beautiful walks. New York is nearby, I've visited there multiple times, and a lot of interesting places in US are on my to-dos. So before we leave, of course, I want to cover them that I couldn't cover. Those hidden gems here in US that many people don't talk about beyond the Chicago, New York and San Franciscos of the world. So those are definitely on my to-dos. So which brings me towards the last point, which is around weather. As an Indian, the weather here could be fairly extreme, and you would not believe it is almost 16 degrees outside. And if you are in New Delhi with 16 degrees, you would not imagine wearing probably a sweater. But when I would be heading outside, I would wear a sweater and perhaps a light cardigan as well, because Boston is a fairly windy city. So even if it could be 16 or 17, because of the wind, you typically have one layer on. And I did mention this on my other video in January, early January till Feb, and even fairly early March, it was as extreme weather as -17, -18. It is typically advisable that you buy the local woolens here, because they are manufactured and they are built to survive the cold here. And yeah, that's what I had to share with all of you. I'm not sure if any one of you is planning to be here in US. If you are in Boston and Cambridge, you are all part of a community of my YouTube channel. Feel free to hit me and let me know. Hit me on my channel, not hit me. And let me know if time permits. I would absolutely be honored to take out time, because you are taking out time to trust me with your time, and time it seems like an inception. And that's it from my side. I hope you're doing cheers with me with chai, and that's it. And like I always say, if you're liking my content, feel free to hit on the like and the share button, so that others get notified of the cool content that we're bringing out to the world. And I'll see you all soon. With that, please take care, smile a lot in your life, and take care. Bye bye.